Behind the crumbling barn, Max, Aaron's shepherd mix, barks until Aaron pushes through the tall grass and finds a shivering bear cub tangled at the roots of a cedar. At first, Aaron thinks it's a coyote pup, but when the cub lifts its head, he sees the rounded ears, the blunt little snout, and the weak claws scratching helplessly at the ground. Its fur is matted, its ribs sharp, its cries high and hiccuping. Max circles, tail wagging nervously, then leans down to lick the cub's head as if to reassure it. The little creature quiets for a moment, eyes closing, before another tremor racks its body. Aaron kneels, heart pounding, torn between fear and something deeper, a pull he can't name. He shrugs off his denim overshirt and wraps the cub in it, holding the bundle against his chest. The warmth of his body seems to steady it. Max stays close, sniffing and glancing back toward the pasture, as though expecting something else to emerge. Aaron whispers, "Easy, boy," but he isn't sure if he's speaking to the dog, the cub, or himself. His ranch house sits at the edge of pine scrub and pasture land on the outskirts of Dry Creek, New Mexico, the last property before the fence line gives way to Bureau of Land Management territory. By the time he gets home, the cub is still trembling, but quieter, its tiny claws hooked into the seam of his shirt, as if unwilling to let go. Inside, Aaron lays it on a towel on the couch and sets up the space heater he uses in winter. Max immediately curls around the cub in a protective half moon, pressing his chest against the small back. The cub settles further, eyelids fluttering. Aaron knows he can't handle this alone. His hands shake as he scrolls through his phone and hits the number he knows by heart. When his friend picks up, Aaron's voice trembles. "Elias, you got to come over. And don't laugh at me. Just come now." Elias Navarro, a field technician at the Dry Creek Wildlife Sanctuary, has a mechanic's patience and a biologist's curiosity. He's the kind of man who fixes fences with wire 1 minute and tracks elk with binoculars the next. 20 minutes later, his dusty pickup crunches into the yard. He steps inside, takes one look at the bundle on the couch, and freezes. Holy. Elias crouches, palms on his knees. That's a bear cub. Aaron exhales shakily. "I thought maybe coyote until I saw the claws. He's half-starved." Elias nods, already moving. He rummages through the kitchen until he finds a bottle of children's electrolyte drink Aaron keeps for hot summer work. "We'll try drops, not too much, keep him warm." They work in silence, Max watching every motion. Elias uses a small syringe, easing liquid into the cub's mouth. To their relief, it latches and swallows tiny mouthfuls with delicate precision, like it knows this is its chance. When the cub coughs, Max nudges it with his nose and whines until it settles. Aaron can barely believe the scene, his old shepherd guarding a wild cub as if it were his own. "What do we do now?" Aaron whispers. "First, keep him alive," Elias replies. "Second, assume the mother is near. And if she comes, we don't want rifles out here. We keep this quiet until we talk to Daniel." Daniel Cross is the director of the Dry Creek Sanctuary, a level-headed man whose calm steadiness makes others fall in line. When Elias calls, Daniel doesn't laugh, doesn't question. He just says, "I'm coming, and I'm bringing Dr. Gabriel Moreno." Less than half an hour later, a white Suburban rolls into the yard. Daniel steps out, tall, lean, sun-creased face, followed by Dr. Moreno, the sanctuary's veterinarian, shouldering a field kit. Inside the small house, the air thickens with quiet purpose. Daniel stands very still, studying the cub on Aaron's couch, while Moreno kneels to check breathing, pulse, reflexes. "Male," Moreno murmurs. "A few weeks old, moderate dehydration, mild hypothermia from shock, no obvious fractures." He glances at Max. "That's a remarkable dog." "Mother?" Daniel asks softly. "Close," Elias answers. "I'd bet closer than we like." Daniel nods once. "Then we prepare for her. Lights low, yard clear, no sudden movement. If she comes, we let her. If she thinks we're threats, we'll lose more than a fence." As twilight deepens, the men sit in tense silence. Crickets thrum, a train moans far off. The cub sleeps with one paw buried in Max's fur. Aaron waits at the open doorway, lantern dimmed. Elias and Daniel keep to the porch corners, shadow among shadow. Dr. Moreno hovers near the couch, unwilling to let the cub out of sight. Just after midnight, the air shifts. A smell rolls in, wet stone, pepper, something primal that prickles the skin. Max lifts his head. The cub stirs and lets out a questioning cry. Then the tree line moves. A shape detaches from the dark, bigger than any bear Aaron has seen. Massive shoulders rolling like thunder deciding to walk. The mother bear steps into the yard. Her eyes burn with grief and fury. She growls, a sound layered with both command and despair. The fence rattles. Then she slams it aside, snapping post twigs, barrels clanging as she plows through the feed shed. The porch trembles when she mounts the steps, eyes fixed on the cub. Max stands stiff, hackles high, but his tail wags in tight figure eights even as he growls. "Aaron," Daniel whispers, barely breath. "Let the cub speak." The cub wakes fully, lets out a sharp cry that cuts through the night. The mother stops so suddenly the boards still shake under her weight. Her eyes lock on the bundle. A tremor ripples through her. Then, astonishingly, she lowers herself to her knees. She extends one enormous paw, claws curled in, turning it palm up on the porch boards. A plea. A surrender. Aaron feels every muscle scream at him, but he stands, Max pressed to his leg, and lifts the cub. The little one stares with wide, unblinking focus at the shape before him, then reaches. Aaron kneels, sets the cub in that waiting paw. The mother folds her paw around him with impossible tenderness. A deep note hums through her chest, vibrating the air, and the cub answers with a weak chirp. Then she does something that hollows Aaron out and fills him all at once. She leans close, exhales warm breath against his face, and presses her brow briefly to his shoulder. Gratitude, acknowledgement, something older than words. And then she rises, cub pressed to her chest, and retreats into the oaks. The yard lies in ruin, fence down, shed twisted, tools scattered, but the silence after feels sacred. Dr. Moreno wipes his eyes. Daniel sits on the steps, staring at his hands as if they belong to someone else. Elias picks up a fallen plank, stacking it neatly just to give his body something to do. Max noses the porch where the mother knelt, ears pricked, tail still. At dawn, Daniel speaks. "We keep this between us. We owe them secrecy, but more, we owe them safety." The men spend the day rebuilding not walls, but welcome. They lower fence lines into a corridor from tree line to porch, adjust floodlights to a dusk-like warmth. Moreno leaves a shallow basin of water and a basket of berries near the oaks. Not bait, he insists. An offering, something gentle in a world that is rarely gentle. Nights pass. Sometimes the yard stays empty, coyotes calling far off. Sometimes the mother returns, cub toddling beside her, tugging her coarse fur like a rope. He climbs porch posts, bangs sticks on barrels, tumbles into Max's patient side. Other times she comes alone, sitting at the edge of the light, watching the house, the dog, the man who had given her child back. When Daniel finally shares the truth with a handful of sanctuary men he trusts, they all agree on a code. No photographs, no radio chatter, no proof, only respect. Weeks later, a storm lashes Dry Creek. Rain sheets the porch, lightning splits the windmill. The mother arrives again, soaked, cub clutched tight and burning with fever. Aaron touches him and recoils at the heat. Dr. Moreno drives through the storm and sets up a makeshift station on the floor. They sponge the cub, coax him to sip water, wait through endless hours. The mother hovers at the threshold, making low sounds that twist Aaron inside out. At one point, she extends her paw, and without thinking, Aaron clasps one claw in his hand. Her skin is rough, trembling, alive. By dawn, the fever breaks. The cub sighs into deep sleep, and the mother makes a sound so soft, Aaron thinks for a moment it is the rain. She presses her forehead to Aaron's shoulder again, then lifts her cub and vanishes with the morning light. News still leaks, as it always does in small towns. People ask about broken fences, strange tracks, odd tokens like blue petals left in odd places. Aaron always says wind does strange things and raccoons are clever. Some laugh, some nod, some look away with eyes that have seen too many shadows. Autumn comes sharp and sudden, as it does in New Mexico. One day blistering, the next crisp, the air edged with the smell of mesquite and the sound of geese overhead. The light turns earlier now, shadows stretching long across the porch, as though the world itself is leaning toward winter. On the first cool night, the mother and cub come early, arriving with the hush of things that belong more to dusk than daylight. The cub is taller now, his shoulders filling, his steps less clumsy. Confidence clings to him the way dust does on a long road. He climbs the porch post hand over hand, his claws scraping lightly at the wood, then drops onto Max's broad back with a thud that makes the old shepherd grunt but not move away. The cub pats Aaron's beard with deliberate curiosity, as though checking it's still there, still real, still his marker of trust. Aaron laughs softly, the sound breaking like a warm ember in the cold air. The mother lingers longer this time. She steps closer than ever before, right up to the second step, where the lamplight spills golden on her coat. Her breath fogs in the coolness, and for a moment she is both shadow and flame. Then, with the caution of something half wild and half surrendering, she lays her paw gently against Aaron's chest, over his heart. The weight is steady, not a push nor a threat, but an acknowledgement. Aaron's hand rises and covers it without thought, palm to fur, heart to heart. No words, none needed. The silence is richer than speech, heavy with what cannot be explained but only lived. Later, when the night has settled back into itself, when the porch is empty again and the stars have taken over the sky, Elias speaks. His voice is quiet, as though afraid of disturbing the lingering presence. You realize we didn't rescue anyone. His gaze is still turned to the trees, searching the shadows that hold more than darkness. Aaron smiles faintly, the memory of the paw's weight still pressing into his chest like a second heartbeat. I figured that out the day Max brought him home. His words drift between them, half confessional, half blessing. Max exhales in the way old dogs do, a sigh deep enough to carry the memory of other nights, other bonds. His tail thumps once against the boards, a sound as final as a gavel and as forgiving as prayer. Dogs hold an ancient knowledge that families are not always chosen, but found, that they are stitched together by hunger, by accident, by grace, that mothers will cross any line, any fence, any fear for their young, and that sometimes men are at their best when they are quiet and brave, when they simply hold still long enough to be trusted. From the trees, just beyond hearing, a sound rises and falls like wind in a canyon, a call, an answer, a promise. It drifts into the night air and settles into the marrow of the men who listen, into the fur of the dog who remembers, into the boards of the porch that has become an altar. For a little while, the wild and the human met on the same patch of earth and made it holy.